Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Okay, we're entering into the 6th installment on the StoneWorx series, the next generation of StoneWorx knives by Ryder. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at the Muskrat. But before we move forward with that, I want to show you the latest large toothpick I also picked up. So this is the second large toothpick in the next generation of StoneWorx knives. I mentioned in the earlier video that I was going to get most likely 4 of these, one for the StoneWorx collection, one for my large toothpick collection, then one to actually carry, and then a spare. And the main reason I'm showing you this is, if you notice, these stones definitely look a little bit different on each one, including the abalone looking different. So no two knives are going to be exactly alike. And that also includes a little bit right here. Now, for me, both of these knives are excellent. I know some people will be upset because, if you notice, this was the first one I got. I talked about this one, and the fact that the blade was not centered. It's not a big deal to me, but I know it is a big deal to other people. But on the second one I picked up, the blade is much better centered. So yeah, I do like it better when the blade is centered, but I have picked up so many traditional knives that I know that blade centering does not make or break it for me. I know it does for other people though. So that's why I was mentioning this to you. So will blade centering be different? Yeah, a little bit. Is that a major quality control issue? Not for me. I know it might be for other people. But both knives function about the same amount of pull on them. The stones, the fit and finish of the stones is quite excellent on both knives. Same snaps. Everything about these two knives are the same, with the exception of one of them favoring the show side and the other one being much more down the center. So there you have it. Now you've seen 2 different large toothpicks, and I've also heard other people saying that no, their centering was perfect. So it depends on the knife you get. And again, these are not modern folders. Blade centering on traditional pattern knives has always been suspect as far as I'm concerned. What you don't want with them is blade rub, and especially when you have an individual one-bladed knife, you do not want the centering to be so far off that the blade is actually making contact with the sides of the channel or the liners. That would be unsatisfactory, but not being straight down the center, not a big deal for me. Okay, enough with that. Let's move on to the new 2nd generation Muskrat in the StoneWorx series. And that would be the RR2401. Comes in the typical box that all the other ones does, so it's still got the same oversized box. And, well, here it is. And I actually do like the way the stones are laid out here. Could they have had the blue or the turquoise also slanted? Yes, they could have. But I really don't mind it on this one. It kind of, I like the way it is. They haven't gone out of the way with multiple colors or anything else. You just have the turquoise, the bloody basin jasper, and then black mother of pearl, so black lip mother of pearl, and abalone. I like it. Actually, I do like it. I'm just going to leave it at that. It might have been a little better if this was offset with the white mother of pearl, but I like black lip mother of pearl. And the abalone does have enough contrast in it to separate it from the mother of pearl. And here we have the back side of it. I guess that's the back side of it. Or is this the back side of it? Kind of hard to tell with a Muskrat because, well, you got the same blades on both sides. What I needed to do with this, and I haven't done it yet, is I really need to flush the pivots on this. because the blade action is not as good as it should be. And it's mainly because, well, a lot of smudge in there. So I've got to clean it out. I really should go do that real quick and then continue with this video. So in the meantime, take a look at this knife. This was the original Muskrat in the first line. And while you're taking a peek at that, I'm going to go clean the other knife. Okay, I'm back and here it is. The action on it is a little bit better, but one blade is definitely harder to open and has a stiffer pull than the other blade. And I would give the pull, coming up to here, it's like a 6 or so, but coming down is more like about a 7. And on this blade, probably about a 5 or 6, but coming down is like a 7 or an 8. It is much more difficult pulling it past. And the snap, you see, that's, I just have to walk it all the way up. So you see that should not be the way it snaps into position. There is no snap pulling this blade up to the half stop. Good stop or a good snap coming down, but this one, see, that's where it breaks. It breaks right about there, but still, that was the whole snap. It snaps right about here, which is kind of not as good as it should be. This one, though, I mean, I had to push it all the way to the half stop, and then it'll close. So the walk and talk on this is not that impressive at all. Well, that's what's supposed to happen. That's what's supposed to happen. Did you hear any snap? Nope. Got a good one there. That one snapped. So one blade has a little bit of walk and talk to it. The other one kind of has a half walk to it. It'll talk when you're closing it, but it will not talk when it's coming to the half stop. Other than that, though, the build is quite well done. I do like the way the stones are laid out and everything. And, well, you already know the differences in the bolsters and the knives. If you look here, you can see the finish is about the same. You got a really nice lineup of all those little spacers in between there. Nickel silver on both of them. This one's kind of cool in that you have abalone on either side here, and you've got the white mother of pearl inlaid inside the blue turquoise. And this is the only knife in the old StoneWorx series that did something like this, putting the white oval of pearl, which almost acts like a shield, into the turquoise center, which was pretty cool. Now the blades on this one, these blades have pretty good action on them. The pull on them is about a 4.5, something like that. And if you notice on that blade, there is absolutely not even a lazy half stop. It just goes all the way around and then closes. And that's the same on both blades. The action on both of these blades is really smooth, but they lack a half stop. And that is the case with all of the earlier StoneWorx knives. There's no half stops on them. But as a person who is totally indifferent to half stops, I kind of like the way this one moves. Would it be nicer with a half stop? It would be for some people, not for me. Size-wise, these are the same size knives. Both have the match striker pull. Obviously, these knives, the older ones, do not have the swedge. And so you can see the difference there with the swedges and everything. you go. There's the difference with the swedge. Again, I'm indifferent to the swedges too. Does the swedge... No, the blade feels nice and straight, even with the swedge. The swedge is pretty much even on both sides on that blade. Let's check the other blade. Looks pretty even to me. And again, the blade feels nice and straight, so that's good. It doesn't feel like there's any twist going on with the blade. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with the knife, but I got to tell you, unless it improves over time, and it might, you know, with more use and everything, this is something that's very common when you just clean a knife. The pivots, the oil hasn't really worked its way into the pivot or anything, so it doesn't move as smoothly as you need. So this is one of those knives where I will have to definitely revisit. So you'll see it again possibly at the beginning of episode 7, and I will give you an update on if the pivots on this knife get any better. So stay tuned for that, but as it is right now, I really like the looks of it, but this particular one, I'm not saying it's for the whole series or anything, because we saw here with the blade centering. Blade centering is not exactly the same on each knife, and so, you know, this knife, there might have been an issue with the pivot on this knife. We're just looking at one knife. So your half stop might work a whole lot better than the half stop I have on this knife. I think the more I work it, the better it will break in. But right now it's kind of stiff. With that said, I will let you go. We'll have a few slides comparing these two knives, and we'll move on from there. Stay tuned for episode 7, which is on, I have no idea because I haven't picked it up yet. But there's quite a few more to go. Okay, 2 days ago I was about ready to call Smoky Mountain Knife Works customer service and tell them that this knife had a blade that just did not work correctly. I actually did contact someone at SMKW, a trusted friend there, and told him he should probably go take a look at the Muskrats in the showroom to see if they had a similar problem as to what this knife had. And he did check the ones there and said, yeah, there was one, I think, out of the 15 that had a the secondary clip blade that had a walk similar to this one. So it was very lazy moving up to the half point from the full open position, but it had a good closing snap beyond that. And but the front blade was just like this one is. Now what I've noticed is the pull on both of these blades was pretty hard. I have since cleaned and flushed the pivots a couple times now, and as you can see, I'm able to open and close the blades fairly well. This one, it still does have that weak walk up to the half stop position, but the snap is a lot better. And if you notice here, there's still goop coming out of there, so I've still got to clean and flush this out a bit. But all in all, the action on the knife is a whole lot better now than it was when I first got it. For one thing, I can open the blade all the way up without trying to pinch it and pull it and risk cutting myself with it. So it really does come down to, was it a factory error? Well, a factory error in that the blade should have probably been cleaned out a little bit better. And more than one person has said you really need to clean and flush your Rough Riders or any new knife, because quite often the pivots pick up a lot of dust and grime and stuff like that. So that's really the only problem with this blade. The more I work it, the better it works. So all in all, I'm not going to call customer service on it because it's really just a matter of the pivot being dirty. And quite frankly, I've got knives that have dirty pivots just from running around in my pocket, and then they get sluggish opening and closing, and clean the pivot. Got to keep your knives clean if you expect them to work pretty well. In any case, the only other issue with this is this knife is definitely going to have a stronger walk and talk or a harder pull than what you have on this knife. This knife, the earlier Muskrat, the walk and talk on this is like a 4 or 5, and the new one, at least on mine, is around 7 or 8. And it came dirty, but it is getting better. So something to think about before just running off and calling customer service and saying I got a bad knife. Try and clean and flush it out a bit and see if it improves. This one is remarkably much better than when I first got it, just from a couple of days of hot water flushing and re-oiling. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm very pleased with it. I really do like the stones on this. I could sit here and, like I mentioned before, probably argue back and forth on which ones I like better. This is the one thing I really like about that one, is the white pearl in the middle of the blue turquoise. That is something that is unique to these muskrats. But this one, actually, I think this is a prettier layout, and I think the stones look a little less jumbled than they do on this one. But you gotta give props to that pearl in the middle. In any case, before I go and do an entirely new review on this knife, I'm going to call this one done and move on to the slides. Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.